He knocked on my door on a Tuesday morning at 9:15, holding a manila envelope and a clipboard. "Ma'am," he said, "I'm the new owner of this property. I'm giving formal notice. You have 30 days to vacate." I looked at him, then at the envelope, then back at him. "Would you like to come inside?" I said, "while I show you something." "My name is Nora Ellison. I'm 34. I work as a title researcher for a real estate firm in Memphis, Tennessee. My job, every single day, is to trace property ownership histories, flag irregularities in deed transfers, and identify when something in a transaction doesn't line up with what it's supposed to be. I've been doing it for 8 years. I'm thorough. My supervisor says I'm the most detail-oriented person on the team, which is a compliment I take seriously. I've rented the same apartment on Maple Ridge Court for 6 years. Second floor, 2 bedrooms, corner unit with good light, and a neighbor downstairs who plays soft jazz on Sunday mornings. I'm not a permanent renter by choice. I've been saving for a down payment on my own place. Slowly, the way you save when there's no family money underneath you, and every dollar has to be earned twice. I had $31,000 set aside as of last January. I had a plan. What I didn't plan for was my landlord, a man named Gerald Potts, selling the building from under me without a single word of notice. And I definitely didn't plan for the new owner showing up at my door expecting to find someone who didn't know her rights. He found the wrong tenant. I want you to stay with me on this one, because what I found in that folder is something that changed everything. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your country or city in the comments. I genuinely love seeing how far these stories reach. If you've ever felt powerless against someone with more authority than you, subscribe. You're going to want to see how this ends. I'd been renting from Gerald since I was 28. He was 61, a retired electrician who'd bought 4 properties in the 90s and managed them himself with a yellow legal pad and a landline. He wasn't a bad landlord. He fixed things eventually. He cashed checks promptly. He left me alone. But 2 years ago, something shifted. Gerald started asking questions about the building, what I thought it was worth, whether I'd noticed other properties selling in the neighborhood. Small things. I filed them away. Then, in August last year, a property management company sent me a letter saying they'd been engaged to manage the building going forward. No explanation, just new payment instructions and a new phone number for maintenance requests. I called Gerald directly. He said he was simplifying things, getting older, needed less on his plate. I asked if the building was being sold. He said no, not currently. I went back to work and pulled the property record for my building's address. A habit. I do it automatically now. The record showed Gerald as owner. No pending transfers, nothing unusual. But I made a note of the date. The new owner at my door that Tuesday morning was a man named Brett Calloway. He was polite, in the brusque way of someone who expected compliance. He handed me the envelope, explained that he'd purchased the property through an LLC 38 days ago, and that he was converting the building to short-term rentals. All current tenants were being asked to vacate. I looked at the paperwork inside. I noticed 3 things immediately: the deed transfer date, the recorded sale price, and the name of the title company that had processed the closing. That title company was the one I worked for. I didn't say that out loud. I said, "Thank you. I'll review this carefully." He left looking satisfied. I closed the door and opened my laptop. The first betrayal was Gerald's silence. 6 years of tenancy. He knew I'd been saving. He knew my situation. He sold the building without a word. The second betrayal was what I found in the deed transfer records. The sale had closed 38 days ago. Tennessee law requires written notice to existing tenants within 10 days of a property sale that may affect tenancy. I had received no notice, not from Gerald, not from Calloway, not from the property management company. The 30-day vacate notice was therefore not legally valid as issued. The third thing I found was worse. I pulled the title report from our firm's archive. My company had processed the closing. The title researcher assigned to it flagged the existing tenant occupancies in the file. That flag required tenant notification disclosure prior to closing, per our firm's standard process. The disclosure had been marked complete in the file. It hadn't been completed. I was a tenant in that building, and I had received nothing. I knew every person on the team who worked that closing. I pulled the file and found the initials of the researcher who'd signed off on the disclosure. I sat at my desk for a long time. Then I called my colleague, Anita. Anita had been at the firm 11 years and seen the kinds of things that get very quiet very fast when no one wants to be responsible for them. She was the kind of person who kept copies of everything and trusted no one's verbal assurances. She was also the only person I trusted completely in that building. I told her what I found without mentioning the address. She asked one question. Was the disclosure marked complete before or after the closing date? I told her. She exhaled slowly. Nora, she said, that's a procedural failure on a closed transaction. If it's yours, your address, that is, that's a serious problem for the firm and the buyer's title insurance carrier. I know, I said. What do you want to do? I want to know all my options first, I said. Anita connected me with a tenant rights attorney named Stephen, who worked out of a small office on Union Avenue. I met him Thursday morning with a printed folder containing the deed transfer, the vacate notice, the title file summary, the Tennessee notification statute, and my 6-year rental payment history printed from my bank statements. Stephen read through it without saying much. When he finished, he looked up. The notice is defective, he said. The 30 days doesn't start until proper notice is issued. They haven't issued it. That buys you time. He paused. The title disclosure issue is separate. That's between your firm, the buyer, and the insurance carrier. But it's leverage. I asked him to explain leverage. He did. Brett Calloway received a formal letter from Stephen's office on Friday afternoon. It outlined the defective notice, the statutory notification failure, the title disclosure irregularity, and, this was Stephen's addition, a request for a meeting to discuss a negotiated resolution before any further action was taken. Calloway called his attorney. His attorney called Stephen. They agreed to meet the following Wednesday. I sat across a Cornford's table with Brett Calloway, his attorney, and a representative from the title insurance company. I was there as the tenant, and, though I did not announce it as the person most familiar with exactly what went wrong in the closing file, Calloway's attorney opened by suggesting the notification failure was a minor technical issue. I slid the title file summary across the table. The disclosure was marked complete on the 14th. The closing was on the 15th. I'm in the building. I received nothing. Someone initialed a field they shouldn't have. The title insurance representative looked at the document. Calloway looked at his attorney. The room was very quiet for a moment. What followed was not dramatic. There were no raised voices. There was a negotiation, conducted professionally across 90 minutes, that resulted in a written relocation agreement. 6 months of notice, a $9,400 relocation payment, and a written release of any further claims. The title company handled the exposure separately through their carrier. That process was not mine to manage. I moved out in June, into a condo I'd been pre-approved for in February. 34 years old, first-time buyer, 740 credit score. I closed on May 28th. I got the keys on a Saturday morning and stood in the empty living room with a cup of coffee from the Starbucks 2 blocks away and just breathed for a little while. The Maple Ridge apartment was a good place to live, but it was never mine. This one is. What I know now is that information is not just power, it's protection. You don't have to be aggressive or loud. You just have to know what the rules are and be the one person in the room who actually read them. If a landlord, a property owner, or anyone in a position of authority has ever made you feel like you had no options, I want to hear your story. Leave it in the comments. Tell me what happened and where you are now. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss a story like this one. And comment your country name from where you're watching. Let's see how far this reaches. Click that comment right now. Help this story find someone who needs it. Thank you for watching. If my story touched you, a like would mean the world. To help others find this story, subscribe and share your thoughts below. I always read the comments. Feel free to share a piece of your story with us. Every single one matters.